Hi guys, I'm Dr. Becca, a board-certified veterinary nutritionist, and I want to talk to you today about cats and fish. Not catfish, but rather whether cats should be fed fish. Now, just taking a walk down the pet store food aisle, you'll see that there's so many cat products with fish in it. Now, despite how common it is, feeding cats fish is actually quite divisive. Some like it, some strongly advocate to only feed it occasionally, some don't want you to feed it at all. So let's look at the 4 reasons why some say you shouldn't feed fish to cats, and the 4 reasons why you should. The first concern is that fish is a common food allergy. Any protein can cause an allergy. It's true that some proteins can be more allergenic than others though. Things such as the number of IgE binding epitopes on the protein, its resistance to digestion, changes in the shape or conformation of the protein, all these things can play a role in increasing the likelihood of a protein becoming an allergen for any given individual. But for a food to be considered a common food allergy, that requires lots of people being exposed to it and developing an allergy. So that's the same for cats. So basically, the most commonly fed foods are going to be the ones that we're going to be most commonly associated with allergies. In cats with allergic skin disease, beef, fish, and to a lesser extent chicken, have been named as the more common causes. But no one ever talks about the allergy potential of beef, for instance. And considering how many feline diets contain fish, it's impressive that it's not always number 1 on the list. The second issue is that some fish contain histamine. Now this one is kind of related to the allergy question. Scombroid fish, or histamine toxicity, is an allergic-like reaction, but it's not a true allergy. The signs that are similar though, so you get hives, flushing, headaches, dizziness, and nausea that are reported in humans. It's caused by fish not being properly stored, allowing bacteria to flourish and releasing histamines. These histamines are heat resistant, so they aren't destroyed with cooking or canning. And a study of canned cat food in Europe found histamine present in 21% of the diets tested, which was increased when the food was exposed to a hot environment, simulating a sunny day, for instance. No increases in histamine were found when the food was left at room temperature or when it was refrigerated, which is good to know. Also good to know is that all the diets, though, that had histamine concentrations were well below the EU maximum, so it wasn't thought that this would cause any issues in the vast majority of cats. The third reason not to feed fish. Fish contains heavy metals and other toxins. The concern about fish and heavy metal is well known, and that's why it's recommended that in humans, we should only eat a maximum of 2 or 3 servings of fish per week. Commercial wet cat food have been shown to contain higher levels of mercury compared to commercial dry food. But it's also important to remember that mercury isn't the only heavy metal, and the presence of heavy metals is not exclusive to fish. High levels of heavy metals have been reported in all types of cat food, dry and wet, commercial and homemade, and even those not containing fish at all. So while fish does contain heavy metals, it is not the only meat that does so. There are also other toxins such as domoic acid from algae that can accumulate in sardines and other small fish as well, but these occur less so than what's found in shellfish. And there are industry and government agencies testing for these toxins in their products. So if you're sourcing quality fish from a country that monitors, the risk is small. It's also worth noting that there has never been a reported case of domoic acid toxicity in cats. But warming waters and climate change and the increased chances of algal blooms might make this a bigger concern in the future. And finally, fish contains chemicals that cause hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism is common in older cats. And the tricky thing is we don't know exactly what factors contribute to it, although it is very likely that it's many factors. Pollutants that are thyroid hormone disruptors are hypothesized to be one of these factors, but they haven't been definitively proven to cause hyperthyroidism in cats. Bisphenol A from canned food has been looked at previously before, and more recently, PBDEs and PCBs, types of forever chemicals, have been shown to be higher in the concentration of blood of cats with hyperthyroidism than those without. Now, these compounds were used in industrial manufacturing and have been banned from use or from being imported from several countries, including Australia. So with these bans, we're starting to see a reduction in these chemicals in the environment, including from fish meat as well, but it's still there. A study showed that imported fish and shellfish from Southeast Asia had more of these concentrations of these compounds than the Australian sources. So there are also regional differences to consider as well. Now, the 4 reasons you should feed fish to cats. First, fish is a good source of protein. Non-oily white fish are a great source of lean protein. And because they don't contain a lot of fat, by weight, they contain, therefore, more protein for every gram. This can be really helpful for cats that need more protein, such as when they're older and have signs of muscle loss, or if they're intolerant to a large amount of fat. Again, we're thinking about those senior cats with muscle loss, gastrointestinal disease, or are just not able to digest fat as well anymore. Second, fish can be sustainable. Eating fish can lower your cat's carbon paw print. Now, overfishing is no doubt a serious issue, but we can do it in a sustainable fashion. Some species of fish have a lower greenhouse gas emission score than either beef, pork, or chicken. And this is because fish do not require the same amount of input as it does for land animals, and they don't release greenhouse gases like cattle. But not all fish have a good GHG score and sustainability rating, so focusing on small pelagic fish such as sardines, herring, mackerel, and anchovies are your best bet. The third reason why you should like fish? Well, fish is rich in omega-3 fatty acids. And this is probably the most interesting part. Marine fish are rich in 2 specific types, namely EPA and DHA. And these healthy fats have a lot of great benefits, but the most well-known is reducing inflammation. In senior cats, cats with renal disease, arthritis, or inflammation, enriching their diets with these fats can be really beneficial. It is important to note, though, you can also get similar effects using algae oil, which is even more sustainable. Now, the final reason to feed fish. Fish is super palatable. Now, this one is a blessing and a curse. Animal behaviors talk about the addiction of cats to fish. Not every cat will love fish, but there's certainly a large portion that do, and some might even refuse to eat other foods after being introduced to it. Now, they love it, and that's why it's such a popular food ingredient for cat food. Fish contains the umami compounds, inosinate and glutamic acid, that really ticks the taste sensation box for cats. While we don't want cats to become addicted to fish, this intense love can be helpful in cases where you really need your cat to eat, or where you're trying to boost the palatability of a diet. You can use fish as a topper, or even use it to hide medications in, which is super handy. So where does this all leave us? Well, there are certainly some legitimate concerns about feeding fish to cats, such as forever chemicals and heavy metals that they can contain. But there are certainly benefits to feeding fish as well. So I think the best strategy is one that works for most things in life. Everything in moderation. Feeding your cats fish sardines once a week, or a fish that bioaccumulates heavy toxins, for instance, such as tuna, shark, or mackerel, only occasionally, is unlikely to cause any harm. I hope that was helpful, guys. Please subscribe to get more updates. Thank you always for your support, and hopefully we'll see you next time.